speaking with Ruby and with Keir from the Featherweight. Congratulations to you both. I want to start off with how are you both feeling about this project being so close to obviously having everybody see this? I really enjoyed watching personally, but how are you guys feeling? Whoever would like to start first.
I'm feeling good. I'm like really excited. This is my first movie, so I'm like, I've it's been like a huge like learning curve for me, but it's so exciting that people are finally going to be able to see it sort of en masse. I think that's like a good feeling.
Yeah, I feel like I've done a few several indie films, and I feel like just you almost at this point anyway, like do not expect it to get a theatrical. So, um, let alone even see the light of day at all. So, I'm very excited and yeah, stoked for everybody that people can see it in a theater, which is very rare these days.
Absolutely. Also, congratulations, Ruby. That's awesome that this is like your first film. That is such a
Thank you.
fun spot to be in. That's awesome. I'm curious
Yeah.
to ask you both. I always love to talk about the character process because I have such a heart for acting. But Ruby, we can start with you, but talk to me a little bit about, this film is very interesting because of how it was shot. You guys are like submerged in this era. Even in the post-production, I can tell how, with the coloring and how they shot it and the formatting, it's so interesting. And that's why I really enjoyed it because I really felt like I was like there with you guys. I felt like I was in this time period. What was it about your character? What kind of nuances did you develop or what did the collaboration process look like with your director in order to really bring this character to life? And that question goes to both of you, but we'll start with Ruby. What was your process for this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, there was like a pretty natural like hook for the character, right? Because this is my first movie, and my character Linda is also herself an aspiring actor, who's looking for like an opportunity to sort of break into the industry. And so the conceit of the film, right, is that there's a documentary crew that is filming Willie Pep's comeback, right? And so Linda, as the character, is looking at that documentary film crew as an opportunity for her big break. And so there was like a very nice, I think, parallel structure to the casting of that. And I think that was very important to Rob, that it be a person who could really relate with that aspect of like Linda's journey in the film. Um, and then, the way that we shot it, because of the mock documentary conceit, we did like a lot of improvisational work. And our set design team was like so incredible. I think the like set decor of this film, because we were shooting in 360 degrees, right? It was so meticulously done that when you walked into the set, like you really felt the time period sort of like all like expanding all around you. And Rob would have us sort of lead into scenes with like sometimes 5 to 10 minutes of improv and interviews that were non-scripted, just to give us sort of an opportunity to really like delve into the character in the time and place. And some of that actually ended up in the film. Like there's a lot of sort of non-scripted content that made its way into the movie as well. And I think that that approach was really smart because since it's mock documentary, you want to really have like the feeling that these people are grounded in the moment and living truthfully. And I think having such amazing designers that brought the 1960s to life gave us as actors, and costume and hair and makeup and all of that gave us as actors uh, the ability to really feel connected to the time and the place.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll second that for sure. The 360, long ta it takes, continuing rolling, being able to interact with the camera and look into camera was really jarring for me at first because it's sort of breaking every rule that I've spent 21 years learning not to do. And it took some getting used to for sure. And then as far as the character goes, playing Billy specifically, you know, uh, also a first time where I was playing somebody that not only was a real person, but is also still, living in Hartford. And I was presented with the opportunity to meet him if I wanted to. Once I got there, it was kind of like, Billy lives, we talk to him all the time if you want to meet him. So I was like, well, yeah, I should definitely do that. I want to try and, do justice to who he is. So that was a really cool opportunity to get to just sit down. We had breakfast and talked about his dad and his life. And, he was in the movie, Billy was struggling with addiction, and he was very open about that, and I also on my own kind of sat down with a friend who's in recovery as well, to sort of wrap my head around what it's like when you're still heavily, I guess, stuck in that addiction. So that was really cool. And then Rob was just such a generous director, and just he really gave it whatever we wanted or needed to like get there. He was just very open to that.
I'm blown away because I've had so many wonderful opportunities to speak to so many different actors, but I don't get these answers very often. And I love that it's very obvious that you guys were so cared for on set, and the fact that you basically were submerged into this whole world, which I think is so wonderful. And it really lets you just push. I mean, obviously you both are very great at your job, but it really just lets that seamless approach just kind of take over. And I think you guys have a really great director on your hands, to be able to set that up for you and allow you both to really just get to work. And I love, Keir, that you obviously had that opportunity too, to be able to meet the person that you are stepping into the shoes of, and to be able to really, do your due diligence with that. I think that that's amazing. Thank you both for sharing your answers with me in regards to your experience there. I'm curious to ask you both, what is it that drew you to this project in the first place? Was it the script? Was it the plot? Was it even just the idea of like Keir mentioned, you kind of get to just look down the barrel of the camera and break all of the rules that they tell you to never ever do in all of the years and years of training. But Ruby, if you'd like to kick it off, that'd be great.
Ironically, because this was my first movie, I didn't feel like I was breaking any rules because I didn't know what I was doing. Like being directed just to camera felt like more natural to me, because I think like, it's not like I have been acting for years, but it's mostly been in a theatrical context. And so to me, like the experience felt um much more like akin to, I think, like being in a rehearsal room for a play. So that was sort of like a more natural transition for me personally. But I think like in terms of what drew me to the project, Rob, I would really do anything with him because I had worked with him. Like we met on a music video, and we hit it off, and we started, getting together and talking about scripts and ideas, and things that would come really, really close, and then not come to fruition in the way that like a lot of creative processes start and stop and start and stop. And then when he was approached with this script, he called me right after the meeting, and he said, "I think there's a part, but I want you to read the script." And I just loved her on the page. Like I felt such a like kinship to Linda as a person, and I understood so much of her. My mother had actually been born and raised in Manchester, Connecticut, which is about 5 minutes outside of Hartford, in the time period where the film is set. And I think I had also this like familial tie to the area, and especially the Italian American community there, because that was who my mom was in part raised by, was her aunt and uncle who were a part of that community. And so there were things that felt really, really familiar to me. And Linda's experience sort of being dissatisfied in that time and place and area was similar to my mother's. So there just were like a lot of little small like kismet things that when Rob sent me the script, I was like, oh my God, this is so totally like up my street in a major way.
Full circle. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I hate to say, it's hard to remember exactly when I initially became involved or attached. So it was years before we shot. I want to say like three or 4 years maybe, because of the pandemic, as well, before we were able to actually shoot it. But I think I got sent the script and a really nice letter from Rob, which is always nice to receive. You get your ego stroked. And then I was like, oh, it's like a boxing thing. Like I don't like sports really at all. So I was like, I don't, maybe this is, we'll see. And then I was like, oh, it's not really a boxing movie at all. I mean, it is and it isn't. And then that really intrigued me. And this kind of the concept of doing sort of I wouldn't call it a mockumentary, but like a false documentary.
Similar air, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that was all attractive, although I didn't know at the time how he would be like accomplishing that. But then I remember, and I really liked the part. And it's always cool to get sent something that you don't usually get thought of for. It's cool to have someone challenge you, I guess. And he's kind of an antagonist, and that's not something I ever get to play. And then I talked to Rob on the phone, and we just like hit it off like crazy, and had a lot of shared interests. So yeah, and then I was just on board after that, and I love doing indie stuff. And so yeah, that was my initial attachment. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, thank you both so much for spending some time with me and for talking about the film. I really appreciate you both. And I just want to say congratulations again. And I look forward to tracking along and seeing the reactions. But you guys did a very great job, and I very much enjoyed it myself. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.